All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Friday Morning Book Group. And today we are discussing The Children's Blizzard by Melanie Benjamin. So, The Children's Blizzard. So, Benjamin's retelling of the Great Blizzard of 1888 in the Dakota Territories. And this blizzard, as we know, killed literally hundreds of children just getting out of school when the blizzard hit, and certainly was an event that I did not know about. I don't know how many of you did not know about it. We'll talk about that, but what an awful, just horrible tragedy that was just so much loss and also miraculous survival. Amazing forgiveness among the people, and so much love, and how the community came together. I was really taken by her writing. So she based it on this true weather event and on the oral histories of the survivors, and survivors, obviously survivors, later generations, and on the two fictional sisters, Gerda and Raina. And one was celebrated as a hero, and the other was ostracized. So, of course, we'll talk all about that as well. And I was struck by a quote that I pulled up from someone who gave a review of the book and who grew up in the Midwest. And I wanted to read some of it to you about her growing up in the Midwest and what she had heard as she was growing up. So she says, "I grew up in the Midwest, and this story," referring to the blizzard, "was legend. I don't know if I ever read any books about it growing up, but I was definitely told the story and warned what to do and not to do in case of blinding snow or being caught away from home in a winter storm. The trunk of my car always had a survival kit: blankets, hand warmers, sand, shovel. It was called the just-in-case box, and it's what we called it. Even in modern times, getting stuck in the snow between towns during a bitterly cold winter storm on the prairie can be extremely dangerous, even deadly. I can't even imagine how dangerous the winter could be in the Dakotas in the 1880s. The tales of farmers tying ropes that led from house to the barn so they could follow it as a guide to check on their animals and not get lost in the blinding snow, and other prairie winter horror stories were told to me by my grandfather and my parents. I remember a few storms that were severe for a day or two, and we had the luxury of sitting inside a house. Even if the power went off, we were relatively warm and dry. I always imagined braving the cold winter weather out on a homestead before paved roads, before central heat, before modern comfort. I can only imagine what these families went through trying to survive this massive storm, hoping they had enough firewood, making life and death decisions, those who survived and those who did not." So people who heard these stories growing up from their ancestors was interesting. But there's lots of things to talk about. I was struck by the idea of fake news, which is very present today, of course. The hardships of growing up at that time, immigrant life, which of course today as well, and the terribly young age of the teachers, 15 years old, going to teach alone in a schoolhouse, and the idea of girls having more freedom than boys. The girls being able to leave the farm, but the boys being tied down because they had to help the families. I thought that was very interesting. So lots of things to discuss. But I open the floor to all of you. And as always, you are welcome to speak. Certainly you don't have to, but I love to hear your ideas and your insights as always. So just raise your hand and I'll call on you, and we'll talk about the book. So who would like to speak first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
All right.
Judy.
Okay. Like you, Deb, I knew nothing about the blizzard. So that was number one surprise. And as I'm reading the book, I'm saying, boy, this writer really has an understanding of what it was like to go through this terrible storm. And then, of course, at the end, I read the author's notes and I realized that she had looked at a lot of things that people had written about it, but that didn't take away from the fact that it was, each chapter sort of seemed to go from a different perspective, including there was one that I was really impressed with, because she obviously didn't have any documentation for this, of a hawk flying over the prairie and seeing everything.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really extraordinary.
Yeah.
So, in terms of the writing, I really enjoyed it. In terms of the story, I was somewhat let down when I finished the book. I thought it had sort of a sad ending. I mean, Annette, seemed to have a good life, but I didn't feel that Gerda was treated fairly. I mean, this was a terrible catastrophe, and I'm sure lots of people did things in a way that they were sorry for afterwards. But because she was a teacher, it was very public what she did. I mean, there were a lot of people that died, not just a few children that were with her. Right. So, at the end of the book, I mean, it appeared to me she probably took her life because she seemed to be so depressed. Yeah. And even, Raina, I don't think was totally happy at the end either. So, it
was sad. It was a sad ending. I agree with you. It was sad for both of them. But maybe realistically sad, and perhaps these girls who knows what happened to them. Maybe this is exactly what happened, and real world.
Yeah, and I also thought it was interesting that they mentioned the Indian schools, because a lot more has come out about that whole situation now. Absolutely. And that was the period of time really when they were starting all these horrible schools and moving Indians. And I forgot which one of the sisters seemed to have a reaction that, this is so terrible that we're taking these children away from their families. And that's exactly the point.
Exactly.
Gerda.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gerda? Yeah, I didn't remember.
Yeah, I didn't remember who it was.
Yeah. I felt totally transported to that era, to that setting. I felt like her writing put me right there. I was freezing cold. I was right there in that snow. I could just feel that ice. It was very, very graphic for me. Very graphic.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Good. Well, thank you so much, Judy. Thank you. Who else would like to speak? Tanya.
Judy, about Goethe, but not only that. To me, it seems like every century has a changing climate. They have the cold climate. We have the warm. But look what's happening now. In Kentucky with all the tornadoes. So every century has his own thing. But I was also, very upset about the parents, the way they treated the two sisters. Yeah. One was the hero and one was the bad one. Yeah. But I was also surprised, the 16-year-old, how she managed to save those children by putting on the aprons, tying on the aprons and holding on. So to me, that was quite an achievement for her. Absolutely. She did well. But I also was sad to read about the Peterson, Annette. Annette. To me, it was such a depressing thing what the mother could do to a child. What kind of a mother she had. So the book impressed a lot on me about parents. I think parents are so important to make sure that the children are normal and all that. And we all try our very best, and hopefully it works. So the book really brought out quite a few interesting things to me, and I did enjoy reading it.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tanya. Yeah, I think it did, how do we bring up our kids? That mother of Annette, she was just horrible, just horrible. And Annette was a very amazing child. She thrived despite her upbringing, quite an amazing girl. Thank you so much. Sorry, Anne. Anne.
Well, but she was desperately poor, the mother, desperately poor and probably not very bright.
Yes,
And there was
correct.
one more mouth to feed, and she saw a way to get rid of her. I mean, I think that kind of living can kill any kind of emotional closeness to a child. But at any rate, I was appalled with the way the father treated Gerda. I mean, she was 17 years old. Come on. She did what she thought. She had no experience with the weather changing like that. And, she did care for those girls that they happened to die. But the other thing that interested me was, the newspaper man, when he first went out in the storm and he saw a 17-year-old girl and two boys in a wagon, and he was sort of looking for them, but they were just a representation, right? Because when he saw Annette, he thought, oh, this is the girl I'm looking for. But Annette wasn't in that town, wasn't in Omaha, in the wagon, 17 years old.
Right. I think it was just a representation, exactly.
Yes,
it was a metaphor for what he was eating.
A metaphor, because I went back and looked at it and I said, wait a minute, there's nobody that fits this description.
Yeah, it was a metaphor for him, for a way for him to kind of do better, maybe. Because I'm sorry, you go ahead.
No, the whole fact of what they did to those people, it was almost as bad as what they did to the Indians. They gave them land and said, there you go.
Right.
In 5 years, it'll be yours. And they had no idea what to do. And there were so many, every season had disaster. There were fires, there were floods, there was snow, there was locusts.
Yeah.
And then they just pushed the Indians off. The Indians probably knew how to farm that land.
Yeah. That was the Homestead Act.
The Homestead,
1862, and that was
the Homestead Act is still around.
Yeah.
We got a Homestead Act for our house. It was some kind of protection. I can't remember what it was about, but anyway, and I was very disappointed with the ending. Very. How she portrayed what those girls did with their future, I thought was
what were you hoping for?
Well, that they would get married, have a nice life, and but
storybook ending. Yeah.
To ostracize them, so they were kids, for crying out loud.
Yeah. But
and then for Annette to get a scholarship, who really wasn't that bright, and she couldn't exist in a urban setting, so it was kind of nice that Tora came by, took her back to farming. That money could have been spread out, but to give it to one person, I can see giving it to Raina to get a college education, but to put poor Annette into a boarding school, she just went from one ridiculous situation to another.
Do others agree? Hi. Thanks for joining us. That's a good question. I mean, I was rooting for Annette. I was fine with the scholarship. I was rooting for her, but I was also sad at the ending. I wish there was money for all of them. That
Right.
would have been
That's
nice.
what I meant.
That
Yeah.
would have been nice. Annette was the one I was rooting for, though. I
But
thought
the
she'd gone
scholarship-
through so much in her life that she deserved this.
The
And she,
scholarship money was split 3 ways because they said there were 3 heroines. One was Annette, the other was Raina, and the third one was another teacher who had
Freeman, who is an actual person.
yes,
She was an actual
yes.
person.
And
Somebody
Raina used
Freeman.
her money to go to college.
oh, that's
That was
right. That's
fun.
right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
And we sort of never really knew what happened to Raina afterwards because it was in Gerda's letters. I hope you have married and have children.
That's right.
But
That's
because Gerda traveled all over the place, her letters rarely caught up with Raina or Raina's letters to her. So,
That's right. That's right.
and I think, you know, the newspaper man, it did not like Nebraska, you know, did not like Omaha. He wanted to get back east. And so Annette was his ticket to get back east, but he also developed actual affection for the child.
Oh,
And-
absolutely. Absolutely.
and you know, he found a good family for her to live with who were nice to her, but you know, and also the mother of Annette was married to a stepfather, and they had 3 brothers whom I think probably came from the stepfather's previous marriage. And they talked about how the stepfather and the brothers, you know, would just sort of leer at Annette and, you know, not be nice to her. And, you know, I could see her mother, in the beginning, I thought her mother was trying to save Annette from this horrible situation. And then when the money came in, well, it was easier to get rid of the mother by making her greedy and wanting the money for herself and a better life. So I thought it was a very neat situation to get rid of her that way. And I never understood why Anna, I guess, why her sister gave her a gun to take with her out to the prairie and why she kept it hidden. And that was
Protection.
Protection. I think that was a more common occurrence.
yeah, but she hid it in the fireplace, and apparently her husband didn't know she had that gun, and she kept him from going to rescue Raina and the children by pointing the gun at him. And then she used it to kill Annette's mother, and she probably used it to kill her husband several
No,
years
he
later.
left. He left.
The husband.
Maybe.
Well, you don't really know. I thought that
Well,
she killed him.
Which surprised me. I figured that she'd go back to Minnesota.
Yeah,
She hated it there.
Yes.
She
But
did.
he disappeared.
Yeah. Hang on one second. Those are all really good points. Irene, good things to
Okay.
talk about. Did you want to say more before I call on Sandy?
Nope. I probably talked too much.
All good things. Let's get back to that. Let's get back to that. Sandy.
I just thought that Anna was the glue throughout most of the story. She played so many roles. She was so mean and then so kind in the end, and did what she had to do. Got rid of the mother, she had to do it. Got rid of the husband, whatever, how he left. All the bad parts out of all their lives so that they could go further. And she redeemed herself, as she said. She had a lot of losses, but I think she was like almost the main character there of keeping it all.
She was a very strong, in my eyes, a very strong
Yeah.
woman. I questioned her change, her sudden, it was just like night and day. And was it all to make amends with her past? It seemed a little far-fetched to me,
Yeah.
but
Guilt.
Guilt, yeah.
Mm.
But you know, being so mean to Annette and then being so opposite. But
Yeah.
I guess that can happen. But yes, she was a very strong woman, very strong. But I think having a gun was very common there. You know, you never knew what animals were around or whatever, but hiding it, you know, who knows? Maybe the relationship with the husband was always bad. The sister was worried about her. She wanted to have protection against him, maybe back in Minnesota or wherever they lived before, across the ocean. Who knows? She just wanted to protect her sister, you know. But having a gun was not at all unusual. Every family.
No, but I think it was Anna's gun. It wasn't a family gun. And
was
I think
Anna's
Anna
gun.
kept it secret.
Yeah.
Like, why would she hide it in the
Right.
chimney?
You're correct. But her husband had his own guns.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty of guns. Yeah. Everybody had guns. Anything else, Sandy?
No, that.
Oh, well,
I
thank you
enjoyed it.
so much. Thank you
Very
very much.
enjoyable.
I'm glad. Thank you. Okay, who would like to speak? Anybody else? Mary.
Hi. Just to add to the conversation, yeah, Annette really, it mentions in the book, like she always felt like an outsider. Wherever she was an outsider, which was very heartbreaking, but also understandable given, you know, what she grew up with. But I also wanted to bring up Ollie. There's this character who sort of shows up in the middle of the story and at the end, sort of being Black on the Great Plains, and wasn't, I mean, I kind of felt like, I mean, it was interesting to bring it up to sort of understand what it was like to be a person of color. And I would have been interested to know more about that, like wanted to know more about his story. Maybe this came up in the author's research, I'm not sure, but that was sort of a interesting side story, I guess, along with the schools for the Native Americans, which, you know, everybody should be, you know, aware of what it was like.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Absolutely. Yeah.
I wondered about him too, and how he and his family fared in the storm, because I don't think that it was really mentioned in the book.
I don't remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he, you know, as I recall, he went to get his kids because, as he said, nobody else is going to go get his kids because they're Black. And so he saved his own kids.
And his wife was upstairs because they lived above the saloon.
That's right. That's right.
But his kids were in the Black section of Omaha. That's why he had to get them.
Exactly.
Right.
The rest of them, they would have gone home to their, you know.
Yeah.
And he finally did move there, and it was a better move for him.
And he was happier, you know.
Yeah.
He was.
So was his wife.
So was his wife, for sure. Yeah. So, it is. It would have been good if she continued with that and maybe pursued it, but I guess there's only so much space in the book.
Yeah. A lot of stories to be told. Yeah.
A lot of stories to be told.
Like
yeah.
a teaser.
I mean, she's written about, I don't know if you've read any of her other books, but, you know, she's written several historical novels about famous people and events. So she wrote the Swans of Fifth Avenue. That was about Truman Capote and his society swans. She wrote The Aviator's Wife, a novel about
That I read.
Anne-Mara Lindbergh. And then she wrote The Mistress of the Ritz, which is based on the true story of the American woman who ran the Ritz during World War II. And she catered to the Nazi occupiers by day while working for the resistance by night. Sounds like a book for you, Richard.
Yes.
Her latest novel, well, now the Children's Blizzard, but she's written Alice Have I Been, about Alice Liddell, the inspiration for Alice in Wonderland. She wrote the autobiography of Mrs. Tom Thumb, the story of Lavinia Warren Stratton, the 32-inch tall star during the Gilded Age. The Girls in the Picture, about the friendship and creative partnership between two of Hollywood's earliest, the screenwriter Frances Marion and the superstar Mary Pickford. So she's written quite a bit about famous people. Yeah, so interesting. But anyway, yeah. So what would anybody, thank you, Mary. Did you want to say anything else? Okay, thank you. Did anybody else want to speak? Let's see. Richard.
I don't have much to add. I read the book last summer,
Okay.
and I should have read more this time, but I didn't.
Okay.
I was caught up with other books.
All
I was
right.
hoping.
That's okay.
I enjoyed the book. I remember my friend Gail was in one or two meetings. I recommended the book to her, and she couldn't put the book down.
Oh,
She read
good.
it every day.
Good, good, good. Yeah.
This book was recommended by another librarian.
Excellent. All
Um,
right. Thank you.
and I was reading it at the same time, right after the book, The Four Winds,
Oh,
Christian
yeah.
book,
Kristen Hannah.
which is
Yeah.
also another depressing book about the Dust Bowl in 1939. So,
Oh, yeah. I haven't read it yet.
so
All right. Thank you.
the Herald, I guess what struck me was how the few that did escape and how unprepared they were. They were misled by that warm day that started.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And
Unbelievable.
that
It-
made it so much more difficult.
Absolutely. And it honestly, they talk about the two weather systems. So that's how this happened. Two weather systems converged from the Arctic and the warm, and that's how this once in a century storm occurred. And it made me think of it with these horrible once in a century tornadoes down in Kentucky and Arkansas and the 6 states where it was so tragic last week. And I mean, I know that it's climate change, but it's just a weather occurrence that was freakish in that it reminded me of this great blizzard.
We read the book
anyway.
Isaac's Storm, which was about the bad hurricane. in that area.
Exactly, in Houston.
Do you remember what year that happened?
Galveston.
Oh, Galveston, sorry, Galveston. That was 1900, I believe, 1890.
Yes, it was.
In 1900, yeah.
Mhm.
That was,
Wasn't too much far after this event, even
that's
though
right, that's
it wasn't-
right,
it was close, but not the same area.
exactly. Many, many people killed, but they were not prepared.
But
Right.
you
Well,
also,
and the
you also had a blizzard
country,
in
the
your
president wouldn't pay
city.
attention.
sorry.
Just show
The
you.
country
go ahead.
refused to pay attention to the weather thing from Cuba. Remember?
In
The
Isaac's Storm.
FBI
That's
just
right.
said,
Yeah.
no. They
For
were
tho- For those of
people in
you
Cuba.
who did not belong at that time, we did Isaac's Storm by, was it
Eric
Eric Larson?
Yeah,
Eric
Eric Larson.
I believe so. Heyo, did you want to speak? I see your hand up, or did you want to speak?
No,
Oh.
thank you. I have not finished the book yet, but I'm enjoying it right now.
Oh, good, 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 good. Okay, well, I'm glad you've joined us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we did that book quite a while ago. It wasn't his best book. We've done a few Eric Larson's. He's a great writer, great historical fiction writer. Actually, history. He's not in historical fiction. He's actually in history.
Yeah. He did the weight of water. Isn't that what it was?
He did the one about the Lusitania. I
Lusitania,
believe.
yeah.
That was
I think
the
it was
Dead Weight.
We did that
Dead
here.
weight.
That's a terrific book. Yeah, I don't know who was not with us at that time, but that's a wonderful book. And then there's a new one about Winston Churchill
Oh, right.
that I wanted to do, but I couldn't get enough copies. I can't remember the name, but anyway. Okay, anybody else like to speak? All right, so I was intrigued by, as I said, a couple of things that are very resonant today, like fake news, and also the big thing was the gender thing, where the girls were encouraged to leave the farm and the boys could not because they needed the physical help on the farm. And so people like Tor had to stick around, and people like Raina and Gerda had the freedom to leave. And that was so interesting to me because, it was kind of the opposite of what I would have imagined, at that
Was Tor the boy that they couldn't find when he was escaping with, was that with Raina during the storm?
Tor was his big brother.
No. Yes,
That was
Tor.
the big brother, Tor's the big brother. The other one died.
Right.
Yeah.
And the father, and then the father died too, right?
Yeah,
Right.
it was so tragic. It was just so tragic. And
I couldn't figure out
Raina-
how he died. He was sitting in the barn. That didn't make
yeah,
sense.
I
to
think
me.
it just froze. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, but Raina felt so responsible, but the mother forgave her and eventually, but it's just so tragic. And I mean, it's based on true events. So we know that things like that actually did happen in families, and then there was such forgiveness, which is really beautiful,
Well, you can die from frostbite.
Absolutely.
A lot of
Well,
people-
yeah.
They froze to death. I mean, the children froze to death for sure.
Yeah.
They found, after the winter, after the snow melted, they found bones. That's what they found. The
Yeah.
children's bones. It's just horrible. So
I was actually fascinated by the ads luring people to come over in the book.
yeah. Well, the railroads, it was all the Homestead Act, and then they built the railroads, and they needed people to work on the railroads. I mean, it was all tied in together. And then these people came. They were immigrants. They wanted a new life. They wanted a better life. When they were in Europe, I guess I'm not exactly sure, but they were big families, and some of the children got parts of the land from the family, but some of the children got nothing. So those children wanted a life, so they came across, and they came to America and tried to make a better life. And they were lured by, we can get, become a citizen and get land. And
The same thing happened in Ireland.
in Ireland.
Sure, there were way too many sons to divide the land.
To divide the
So-
land. Yeah.
So they ended up coming to.
Yeah.
There's
I'm sure. Too
there's a
many.
new book by the author who wrote the Black Tide, the story of the molasses.
Oh,
Steve-
yeah.
Stephen Puello.
Yeah, Julio, yeah.
He's just written a book about all the Irish coming over in the 1800s.
Ah,
I can't remember the name of it, but it came on a ship. I have it somewhere.
oh, brand new?
Yeah. We're doing it for North Hill has a book, book of the year, the way the library did.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice.
a lot of people read it, and then they have a lot of different activities related to the book, and the author will come and speak because he's
Interesting.
local.
Yeah. Now, can I just ask, how many of you know about Stephen Puglio's book about the molasses flood? Do you all know about it? You all know about it. Most of you?
No, it's a wonderful book.
Tanya, no. Well, there was I don't know what year it was. Was it the early part of the 20th century or?
Yes.
Yeah, there was
Yeah, because there were horses. and-
there was
and
a
cars.
molasses flood, and many people died in Boston. It's a landmark book. I thought about doing it for the group.
Well, he's the only person who's written about the flood.
That's right. He's a local person.
Yeah, Hingham, I think.
Yeah, I thought about
He was a
doing it.
history teacher down there.
Right.
What's the name of the book?
The Dark Tide.
The Dark Tide, exactly.
I'll add it to my list.
Yeah. No, it's a possibility. Maybe.
It's a very good book.
Yeah, yeah. Good, good. Well, any other comments before I talk about next month or any other things to talk about? Anybody? No. All right. Well, for next month, we're going to read Anne Patchett. We're going to read an older book of hers, not too old. It's called The Story of a Happy Marriage. And I already have books here. I have audio. The audio is good if you like audio. She narrates it. She's a great narrator. I just finished listening to her newest book, These Precious Days, and it's wonderful. I loved it. So if anybody wants to try to read that, there's a long list, but I wanted to do that, but there's no way I could have gotten copies. It's excellent. So just, if you're not familiar with her, she's the author. She's written many, many, many books. She's based in Nashville, Tennessee. She wrote Bel Canto. She wrote Commonwealth, State of Wonder, Truth and Beauty. I don't know if you're familiar with any of those books, but
Yeah. I did not like Bel Canto.
oh,
One of the few people.
you are one of the few. Oh my goodness. I love that book. I
That's
love
her
that book.
signature book.
Yeah, I love
I like the one, what's the one that takes place in England? Not Commonwealth, but the other one you meant.
State of Wonder.
State of Wonder. I love that.
Okay, good. Well, These Precious Days is amazing. It's autobiographical. It's a book of essays, very personal. It's wonderful. That's all I can say.
I've seen her in person at a book
Oh,
reading
wow.
years ago, and she's really, really good in person.
Yeah, she's a very
Yeah.
personable author.
She owns a bookstore, right?
Yeah, Parnassus Books in Nashville. I want to go. It's on my list. I want to go there. I want to go. Anyway, maybe someday, yeah. But anyway, so that's for next month.
Well, we did Dutch House in this group.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you.
right.
Richard. Totally
Right.
forgot. We did Dutch House.
That I liked,
Yeah, yeah.
but I did not like Bel
Great
Canto.
book too. And she talks all about, in this newest book, she talks about Dutch House. She talks about how making Dutch House and making the audio and her relation to Tom Hanks, who narrated it, and how that whole thing came about. It's terrific.
She mentions in one of her interviews that a lot of her fiction books, it's people that don't know each other and then they come together one way or another, good or bad.
That's right. That's
I'm
right.
in
Yeah.
her fiction books.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
She does have a book written in Boston, the one book I didn't like, Run.
Oh, Run. Yeah, I haven't
Oh,
read that. I haven't read that one.
And
I read it.
That was very good.
I don't remember what it's about, but I read it.
I don't either.
I'll
Taft,
I'll have to look
I
for
recommend
it.
Taft.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a friend gave it to me, and I think I put it down in the library downstairs.
I actually tried seeing her years ago at the Brookline Booksmith, and it was sold out for weeks.
Mm,
It was Coolidge Corner Theater. This is probably over 10 years ago.
wow.
It sold out instantly. You couldn't.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right. Well, so that's for next month. Any other questions, concerns, anything else about this book or any other books?
Is it a wait is it a long time you think will be before we meet in person?
Oh, that's a good question, Richard. So, so before Omicron reared its ugly head, we were slated to go in person, hopefully around January, February. Now I don't know. So I have to say that I don't know. I'm sorry. I would love to go in person more than anything. I'd love it, but I'm sorry. I just don't know. So I'll keep you posted, but you know, we just have to go day by day. Everybody has to stay safe, and you know, I assume everybody is boosted, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
As long as you're boosted, you're pretty good, right? You're good. You got to be
One
To be
never
on the safe
knows.
side. We have to be on the safe side.
on the safe,
And
on the safe
we're
side.
so used to Zoom now that we don't mind staying home, especially in the winter time when it's bad weather. So
Yeah,
maybe hopefully in the springtime we can get together.
yeah. That Tanya's got the right attitude.
Well, the problem is that there are lots of people in the group who haven't come on.
That's right. That's right.
And
I've
so
connected. That's too bad. I have connected. I tried to connect with a lot of people in the group who don't do Zoom, and I've tried to encourage them to do Zoom, and they just don't want to do Zoom. So maybe
No.
maybe you guys can. They're either self-conscious or they're for one reason or other they don't want to do Zoom, but they write to me and they say, I love the group. I follow the books. I miss the group. I can't wait, but I don't do Zoom. And it's frustrating because,
It is.
you know, we do fine. We do
Yeah,
fine.
exactly. You know.
And I wish people would just give it a chance. And
Yeah.
there's a number of people who I connect with who just say that to me. And
Like Dorothy.
there's Dorothy, there's Gina, there's Sandy, there's a lot of people, Hannah, there's
Yeah.
other people, yeah. So
I've done
Can
a
you do
couple of
hybrid?
other
What's that?
platforms.
Yeah.
I've done
Can
a
you
couple
do
of other.
hybrid?
hybrid,
Yeah. For those people who do not want to do Zoom, you can meet, you know, with maybe a small group. And that's what we do in Florida. I still am active in Florida book discussion. And because of me and a couple of others, they do Zoom, but most of them, they meet in face to face.
well, we're not allowed here. We're not allowed to meet in person.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Are
I'm
you,
new.
are you
Yeah, I'm
talking,
new to town. Uh-huh.
are you in Wellesley or are you in Florida?
Oh, in Wellesley. I moved recently, so now I'm Wellesley, but I
Okay.
still have a connection to Florida.
I see, okay,
I
okay. Yeah,
guess
no,
also,
in
I guess-
Wellesley, we're not allowed to meet in person.
Oh,
I
I
guess-
didn't know that. Okay.
Good
Yeah,
news
because
is-
we meet it in people's house in Florida, so that we take turns, and so that's a little different.
That's
Yeah.
different.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, here in a public building, we're not allowed.
We had 10 people who were on the staff who have left because they refused to get vaccinated.
Oh, wow.
And we did not accept any religious exemption.
That's good.
So they're gone. One of them moved to Florida. And you know what? He's perfectly healthy. He was in the fitness center. He just refused to get vaccinated. Silly.
I wish those people would just go into Boston, go into the ICU and watch people struggling on a ventilator.
Yes.
And then they'll
Yes.
get vaccinated.
No, they won't. It's my body. You know, they're just, you can't talk to them. There's no way you can convince them. I don't think.
I don't know.
I
But
think that,
Sandy?
Go ahead. Go ahead,
I
Sandy.
was just gonna say, when you're talking about Zoom, because I'm very involved with the senior center, and I believe it's been a lifeline for so
Yeah.
many of us this last
Sure.
year, especially being home so much. And it's wonderful that all you do in the center, that you offer so many different programs. So the next class I'm doing is exercise. So there's no reason not to be in good shape. Your mind, your body, your soul.
Yep,
You
right.
do mindfulness, you do, meditation, lectures. So you're right, if you can only encourage other people.
That's
And
right.
you do form a group, like this is a group.
Sure.
My mindfulness and meditation have been 2 and 3 years, the same people. and you get intimate, you talk about things. So people don't realize what it can do for them. I wish
Yeah.
more people could.
You'd be a good salesperson, Sandy.
I would. I'm a cheerleader for it.
Well, you know,
Cheerleader.
everybody
That's
can
what
get
I need.
outside
I need
and
a
walk.
cheerleader for these people who don't want to come on Zoom.
No,
Are they
'cause if you
afraid
find-
for some issue of privacy? It's like, I won't do Facebook because I don't trust them with my personal information.
Right.
But Zoom is not like that.
No, you don't have to have your
Not
picture
at all.
on there.
Not at all.
Exactly.
No, most of my my people on my group, I have almost 50 people on my distribution list. Most of the people who
Yeah.
don't want to come on Zoom, it's because they're either self-conscious about, for some reason, they're self-conscious about being on a screen. I don't understand it.
But they don't have to be.
They
You
don't
don't have to be, right?
You can
You
take
can
your
always push
picture
the
out.
video.
I don't
Right.
understand it. I don't.
Yeah, you can still talk and be heard.
Yeah, I said
But
if
you're not
you
seen.
want to, you can close your video and just
Right.
be with us, you know.
Or do it on the phone. They could call in.
They could.
Yeah.
They
Definitely.
could call in. I didn't mention that. Maybe I'll mention that. The phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that-
it's
That would confuse a lot of people.
it might. So we'll keep working at it. But I appreciate all your thoughts and your insights as always. You guys are great. And you know, we'll keep up. We'll hope for the best, and we'll hope that we will meet in maybe February. Maybe it will happen, you know, maybe it will.
The problem with this group is the size. You know, if it were smaller, you could be 6 feet apart, but it's just too big a
Well,
group.
Well, originally the library's plan was that we could do February meeting for classes. You know, we do a lot of classes here. We could do classes of a maximum of 6 people. Now,
Right.
my group does not fit into that because
No.
I never have 6 people. I always have more. So I'm not sure how it would work, but I do think if we were down in the auditorium, even if we had what we have today, which is 9-10 people, we could spread out enough.
Yes, we could, but who do you cut out? The
But
group is too big,
if the group is too big, then
right?
you
You
know,
could be excluding people.
right. So I don't know. So anyway, we'll go month by month. Meantime, we're here, we're Zooming, and thank God for Zoom.
Right.
Well, the one good thing about Zoom is if one goes away or if people move, they can still use Zoom.
Exactly.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
Hio.
Yeah, like me. Yeah.
How do I say your name? Hio?
Yo, perfect.
Oh, I did it. I'm good. All right, guys. Well, thank you
right.
so much, as always.
Happy holidays.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays. Oh, everybody have a
Happy
wonderful holiday, and
Happy
please
holidays.
stay safe and be well. Enjoy. Peace be with you.
When are we meeting
Thank
you.
again?
Thank you.
When are we meeting again?
Oh, the
Oh,
third.
we meet. Thank you, Tanya. So we will discuss the story of a happy marriage on January 21st. January 21st. And the registration link will be on the website. I think you're really going to like this book. It's very personal. It's very different from this book, which is great. And I think you will really love it.
You have it in the library now?
Yeah,
You have it there?
I have it on my shelf right here.
Good, I'll be there, so I'll pick it up.
Yes. All right. I look forward to seeing all of you.
Thank you. Happy
All right.
holidays.
Take care.
Happy holidays.
Okay, be
Happy
well.
holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Bye.